Chris Walby. Chris?
Thank you, Brian. It's deafening at Olympic Stadium where over 50,000 have amassed. For the third straight year, it's Toronto and Montreal in the Eastern Division Final, vying for a trip to the nation's capital to oppose those BC Lions in the 2004 Grey Cup. And Chris Walby, before we kick things off, let's check your Gillette game notes.
Well, let's take a look at them, Chris. We're talking about the Argonauts. What did the Toronto Argonauts have to do? Hey, it's in the cards with 6 to 7 yards. I'm not being a poet. You need first down production. Don't be in second and long with this blitzing defense. On defense, you got to play some rock and roll on Cavill. Do not let him sit back there. Hit him, distract him, put him off his game. On the other side of the coin, feel the force. And of course, I'm talking about Copeland, Cahoon, Cavill, and Anderson. Any one of these four all together could be the difference maker today. And ice the Argos on defense. That means intimidate them, confuse them, and execute your game plan.
What a backdrop. Third straight year. Mike Clements has taken his team here to Montreal for the East Division Final. And there's a man who does not need a map to get to the Grey Cup game. He coached Pinball Clements for 2 Grey Cups in '96 and '97. And they oppose each other here as Dave Stala kicks it off. The Lions await the winner of this East Division Final. Bashar Livingston outside across the 30 and punished by KJ, Kevin Johnson, the Alouette middle linebacker, getting the first lick in. Well, there's Damon Allen in his last 3 starts against Montreal. Started but didn't finish, knocked out of those games with a broken hand in last year's Eastern Final, a concussion in July, a broken leg in August.
But the positive spin is last game against the Alouettes in only a half of football had his best outing against this defense.
Working against a defense that led in 14 of 25 categories. Allen over the middle, and he overthrows R.J. Soward as we set this sputtering Argo offense for you.
Well, obviously the key is that man, Damon Allen. He has to have a great game today. And John Avery, where has John Avery been? Miles and Baker, Bruce, Soward, and Talbot, the leading receiver from the semifinal game last week. And an offensive line, a lot of pressure on these boys, anchored by Chad Folk at center.
And the message from the Argo staff was that that O-line has to be better than it was last week against the high pressure of the Hamilton Tiger Cats. 2nd and 10, Allen hit, but Robert Baker has the catch, upended at the 40-yard line. He'll be short of the first down by 2 as we set the Alouette defense for you.
And what a defense it is. Brown, Simpson, Philly, and Anwar Stewart, the big hit on Damon Allen that play. Strickland, and the leader of this defense, Kevin Johnson at the middle linebacker position, but don't forget about Dwayne Butler. And how about Armando Curry at that cornerback position, up for Rookie of the Year.
Noel Prefontaine, even Don Matthews said clearly he was the star of the Eastern Semi with that fat average of 50.7 yards. Not a good first punt. Here's Ezra Landry. And once again, Argos with great downfield coverage. And Randy Srachinski jostling a bit with Landry. After a 40-yard punt, 4 yards lost on the return. Well, there's the man who passed for over 6,000 yards this year, only the 4th in CFL history to do so. Anthony Calvillo brings the 4 horsemen out to go to work.
Well, the 4 horsemen, and how about the X Factor, Sylvain Gerard, who's, you know, had he played the entire season, could very possibly have had 1,000 yards himself.
But working against a very stingy Argonaut defense. First throw of the game, Jermaine Copeland with the catch at the 34-5 for Copeland. One of the 4 1,000-yard Alouette receivers.
Well, Anthony Cavill at quarterback. How about Eric Lapointe getting a start at running back today? 6.1 yards per carry average. Sylvain Gerard just talked about him. He could be the X factor today. And the 4 horsemen, Copeland, Cavill, Cahoon, and Anderson, each with 1,000 yards. and a very good offensive line, anchored by Okeke, the left tackle.
4 Eastern All-Stars of the 5 on that offensive line. 2nd and 5, a completion to Copeland. He'll have a first down, and he lets you know at the 40-yard line.
Yeah, the Argonauts are going to sit back in coverage, a little bit of a match coverage. We have 3 receivers, going to have 4 guys covering those 3 receivers, but they're sitting back, waiting for the receiver to come to their zone. As a result, everything underneath is open right now, and it's just a game of pitch and catch so far.
Copeland 6th in the league this year, 84 catches. As you see the yardage after being the top man yardage-wise last year. They stack up this left side, Gerard, and he is smothered, short gain, as they try the hitch screen to the very speedy Canadian wideout. And a little bit of animosity early. Paul Lambert fired up the left guard.
Well, this is a defense that's been the strength of the Argos all year. Eric England, 2 sacks last week. Noah Kander, 10 quarterbacks sacks on the season. Fletcher O'Shea, the leader of that defense. Ivan led the CFL in tackles, and don't count out Antonius Bonner for a big play today. Younger Wheaton Steinhauer, Ivory, and the veteran Adrian Smith in the corner. 2nd and 6, Calvillo, quick hitter, and Copeland looking for a flag, won't get it. Pass incomplete. Orlando Steinhauer read the mail, and the veteran safety, one of the keys to this Argo defense. Well, the big thing is they're doing a little bit of box coverage, a little zone coverage, and they've got Ivory underneath and the safety, Orlando Steinhauer, coming over top, and they prevent that completion. Copeland didn't like the call, but they have to punt the football. Livingston with 5 kick returns for touchdowns this year. Mark Mariscal is the punter. High, not deep. On the run, Livingston can't field it, but does get the no yards call. Ball out of bounds after a short 34-yard punt. Just underway in the Eastern Final. Playing for the right to play BC in the Grey Cup. On the 5 yards, it's a 15-yard penalty against the Alouettes. Very smart play, taking it up and catching the defender in the neutral zone, the 5-yard zone. The Argonauts feel that this will be a critical component of this game. They've returned kicks for 14 touchdowns in the last 2 years, and they feel they may need one today to offset this Alouette team. Pass swung into the flat, incomplete, intended for Tony Miles. With penalty flags down, Dave Ewell's in charge, and the Argos jumped early. Flags thrown on both sides of the football field on the line of scrimmage.
Illegal procedure. Toronto 67. Still first down.
Right tackle John Fugal getting the jump. Again, working against very quick defensive ends. Stewart on one side, Kerry Samuels the other. 67 just with a flinch. That's all it takes to get that flag thrown. So it's 1st and 15. Argos have to battle the noise. Now it's swung out. Arlen Bruce makes one man miss. Look out! Oh, a big tackle from the backside. Tim Strickland saves a touchdown. Bruce had a lot of daylight ahead of him. Well, a lot of daylight, but Damon Allen reckon it's a pre-snap read. There comes the blitz. There's nobody outside. You got a 15-yard cushion on the receiver, Arlen Bruce. He makes the ball, and boy, he's tough to bring down in open field. Bruce, a mid-season acquisition who has yet to play against the Alouettes in the 3 Montreal wins. 18 yards on the pickup. First down, Toronto. There's Robert Baker, upended by the fine rookie Almondo Curry, and Baker gets up in his grill. Baker, the most physical of the Argo receivers. Well, Baker, who refuses to get into a war of words about this football game, says, I'm going to let my action on the football field be my talking. Makes a nice grab, but Armando Curry right there to bring him down. Baker and Tony Miles both had over 100 yards receiving last time these two teams met. 2nd and 6, and the noise level gets amped up. Here's the pressure. Allen delivers and overthrows Tony Miles.
And it will be third down as Damon wasn't on the same page with the intended receiver.
Well, that's just basically the pressure of the defense getting to Damon Allen, forcing him to throw that football before he wants to. They had the guy they wanted to get open, but not enough time to find him.
So Prefontaine back in. Subpar opening punt after last week. 50.7-yard average. This one angling for that cone, and it will go out in the end zone for a single point. Prefontaine was looking to get the coffin corner, and he'll get a single point consolation as we join Brenda Irving.
Well, Chris, there are about 50,000 plus Als fans in the stands, and of course the noise they can make the play calling a challenge for opposing quarterbacks. So earlier this week, the Argos moved their practice inside to a bubble dome and pumped in crowd noise to simulate what they'll face here today. Quarterback Damon Allen says they practice their silent snap counts during the week, but Coach Mike Clemens says, hey, the easiest way to make sure the noise isn't a factor, just jump out to that early lead. Chris?
Well, they are 10-1 when scoring first, but they won't be sitting on that 1 point. Here's Copeland, third catch already with flags down. Copeland close to a first down as Kevin Ivan and Antonius Bonner, two of those active Argo linebackers, in on the tackle.
Well, as the officials meet, I believe it's going to go against Montreal, and it is indeed going against them. It's just a case again of the receivers trying to time up that snap count.
Montreal number 5. First down repeated.
Eric Lapointe, the culprit. And so it will be first and 15. Back at the 30, the Argos have struck first on the 48-yard single by Prefontaine. Four receivers wide side. Calvillo looking deep. Another flag down. And the ball incomplete, but there's a penalty marker as Younger got tied up with the intended receiver, Thyron Anderson. And that's a costly call when at the other end a holding penalty was upcoming against Montreal.
Well, then again, we're assuming that the interference was on Younger. A lot of hand fighting going down the sidelines between Anderson and Jordan Younger, who've had quite the battle going this season.
Holding, Montreal 68. Pass interference, Montreal 87 is declined. First down repeated.
So both calls against Montreal.
Well, it looks like he almost tries to pull around Jordan Younger to come to have an attempt to get to the football, and that's just good coverage by Jordan Younger, keeping him and the defender away.
And Brian Chu gets the call on Noah Cantor. It's a matchup we'll be watching today. There's a little shovel underneath, and Eric Lapointe picks his way up to the 28-yard line. Noah Cantor had 3 sacks against Montreal this year, playing against Chu. Had a big game in the 2000 Grey Cup when BC played Montreal, and Cantor was a BC Lion. Mike O'Shea suggesting yesterday that Cantor scores out pretty well against the All-Canadian center.
Well, he might be one of the strongest, if not the strongest, player on that Argonaut team.
Second and 17. Argos jump, play doesn't get off. Eric England was one of the boatmen who moved too quickly.
Well, that's just the veteran Anthony Calvillo changing the snap count, anticipating that
Offside, Toronto 95.
that
Still
the
second
Argonauts
down.
want to bring the blitz. They see it coming, so how do you stop the blitz? You change the snap count, you catch them in, don't let them get any kind of rhythm getting off to the ball. You don't always want to go into one snap count. Fletcher clearly offside on the top, Eric England on the bottom.
England, who led the league in sacks last year with 14, an off season with only 4 and yet 2 in the Eastern Semi against Hamilton. Now second and 12. Calvillo dumping it off. There's Ben Cahoon, and Cahoon all the way to midfield first down.
Well, you must never forget where 86 is on the football field. Nobody to throw to initially. Cavill gets to the outside. How does 86 Ben Cahoon do this? He finds a little opening, sits down there almost like he's invisible, but he always comes up with those big key clutch catches.
Second to G. Roy Simon with 93 catches on the year. And there's Kwame Cavill. Close to another first down. Ball down on the ground, and they're battling for it. And let's see, I think the officials are going to discuss this. Argos think they've got the football, and Cavill remains down.
Well, and now a flag gets thrown.
But Kwame Cavill this year really took this Alouette offense to another level as a third dangerous inside receiver, and he really was shining when Ben Cahoon went down with an injury and missed a pair of games himself.
He got his opportunity, but I think the big thing that's changed from last year, and you say, how much better can Montreal get? Last year they were a two-receiver offense.
Now, 4 flags as Jonathan Brown takes off the helmet. Well, that's an automatic penalty. Let's see if there's more. And they got to cool him down. Remember, Hamilton lost its composure last week. The Argonauts stayed cool, and the youngster out of Tennessee is being pulled out of there before he gets into more trouble.
And Coach Clemens has told his players, he's talked to them about it. He says, you know what, even in practice, you're not allowed to take your helmet until you get off the sidelines. When you get on the sidelines, take your hat off, not a problem. But don't do it on the football field where the flags will be thrown. Let's take another look at that hit by Bonner and company on Kwame Cavill.
Kenny Wheaton in on the collision. Cavill had a concussion earlier in the season. Brown still cooling off, and they are being very careful attending to the injured Alouette receiver Kwame Cavill.
Well, I want to finish my thought. I was talking about the fact that last year they were a two-receiver offense. Obviously it was Cahoon and Copeland. This year, with the emergence of Cavill and obviously the big target, Thyron Anderson, they've really managed to spread this offense all across the football field to just give defenses fits.
And the 2 men in the Argonaut collision, 2 of the hardest hitters in the league in Wheaton and Bonner, who dismantled Dondra Gilliam last week with a menacing hit.
Conduct. Toronto number 10 after the play. Objectionable conduct. Montreal trainer. Objectionable conduct, helmet violation, Toronto 97. First down.
Well, I don't think I've ever heard a Montreal trainer, or any trainer for that matter, getting a penalty. Obviously he's saying some things, and that's probably out of concern for his player. Something was probably said to the effect that they're happy that Cavill might be out of the game, and obviously the trainer protecting his player.
Mike O'Shea in the midst of that.
Well, you can see it was Jonathan Brown as well. Jonathan Brown was getting in there, and something was obviously said. A little heated exchange between him and the trainer.
And they, on the field, announced trainer. I believe that's actually the doctor for the Alouettes. Who got involved in that confrontation. I believe that's Dr. Vince Lacroix, as we saw him get tangled up, and they are being very careful with Cavill.
Something you definitely don't like to see. Just gets tagged right in the ear hole, right in the side of the head, on the helmet. And I like the fact that they're taking every precaution right now. We talked a lot about the nature of this game. It's very physical. The emotions are at very much a high. When you're playing in a championship game, never mind a regular season game. It's a big hit, but it just shows you never know what's going to happen on any given play.
It's 2 weeks in a row now. Bonner has had to wait an extended period of time after being involved in a crushing hit over the middle, but the good scene here is that Cavill sitting up and talking to the doctor.
Well, he doesn't want to go off the field. I think they're going to just check. Obviously, the concussion is probably one of the things they want to look at. Just make sure that he has all his thoughts that are right. Knows where he is. Knows that he's in Olympic Stadium.
The end result, a woozy receiver, an Alouette first down, and 15 extra yards when all the flags were sorted out.
An excellent field position for this Alouette offense to go back to work with.
And maybe the first penalty ever assessed to a team doctor.
Now, will they fine him?
You'll go over to Don Matthews and say, put me in, coach. You got a spot now. 35-yard line of Toronto. 1-0 Argonauts. Alouettes threatening. 4 receivers right side, and they hand the ball off. And this is Jonas Lewis in for Autry Denson. He'll share the workload today, along with Canadian Eric Lapointe.
Well, Jonas Lewis is a load. 5'9", 210 pounds, and he just hits the hole. 6.2 yards per carry. They really like his attitude, and he's a great special team guy. That's how he keeps himself on this roster.
Looked like he got 6.2 yards on that carry. 2nd and 4. Fake to Lewis in the flat. Cahoon dodges 2 tacklers, and then is hammered. Oh, Cantor and Mike O'Shea finally came across, but Cahoon moves the chains.
Well, once again, just a hitch pattern, get the ball out in the flat to Ben Cahoon, who does the rest himself by sidestepping a couple of would-be tacklers. Little play action, get it to number 86. He avoids a tackle. Kenny Wheaton breaks a couple more and picks up the first down.
Well, Ben Cahoon, the top Canadian the last 2 years, outvoted this year by Kevin Ivan. There's a catch inside the 5. Jermaine Copeland's got another.
Well, the Argonauts are just sitting back in the zone, and as a result, the receivers are finding the holes. This time, Copeland just finds a hole in front of the linebacker, Kevin Ivan. Ball is delivered, but not before another first down is picked up.
And it's 1st and goal from just outside the 3. Give to Lewis. Touchdown, Montreal.
After watching the Argonaut defense last week and how they handled Troy Davis and that Hamilton offense, this is just too easy for the Alouettes as they just simply march up the football field and look at the hole at the point of attack for Jonas Lewis to run through for the first touchdown of the afternoon.
In their first 2 meetings of the year, the Alouettes generated only 1 offensive touchdown, but that was an impressive march. Calvillo was 8 for 9, and Lewis capped it with a 3-yard run. 10 plays, 75 yards. Anthony Calvillo, top Canadian last year, up for that award again this season. 8 for 9 to start the football game.
Well, I think we talked about it early. The Argonauts have to confuse. First off, they got to change the defensive look and give Anthony more than 1 look, and they've just been running zone. And they got to get some pressure on him.
Ball bouncing into the arms of Arlen Bruce. And Bruce with blocking up front. A lot of daylight. Arlen Bruce down the sidelines. And he will be stretching out to the cone. Touchdown. And the Argos special teams have done it again. The 8th return touchdown of the season. This 97 yards.
talk about answering the bell. Shakes off the first would-be tackler. Gets behind a wall of blockers. There's Mike O'Shea doing double duty. Not only defense, but special teams. And look at the effort to stretch out and break that plane with the football. 97 yards. The touchdown and the lead with the convert.
Returned a kickoff against Winnipeg earlier this year. And the Argos answer right back and have a 1-point lead. Pinball Clements said his team needed to win the special teams battle today. They've got the lead in both departments now.
Well, I thought the key word was he says we don't have an advantage against Montreal because they also have outstanding special teams, so we have to make it our advantage. We have to one-up them. They did just that, 97 yards. Arlen Bruce. Boy, that's exactly how you answer the bell.
Spectacular play. We'll take another look. I'm not sure Bruce didn't put a knee down out of bounds before breaking the plane. Let's take another look at his second kickoff return for a touchdown this season.
Well, he gets it on the first bounce, and there's a guy you have to watch, 23. Bashar Livingston's going to get a key block. Breaks the first tackle. That's what all good returners will do, Chad. You see Ryan Folk misses right there, and there's 23 with the inside block on Strickland, and that allows Arlen Bruce. Now we get to the end. Question is, does his knee go down before the ball crosses the plane?
You could see the chalk, and this might give us a better angle. Almondo Curry valiantly with an attempt, but an Argo touchdown.
1987 all night long! All night long, 13! And they got caught, bro.
And now for the last 2 years, 15 return touchdowns by the Toronto Argonauts. In assessing that, we just missed this quick hitter incomplete intended for Thyron Anderson. So we pick up the action live, 2nd and 10. As you mentioned, it was awfully easy for Calvillo on the last drive. 4 receivers, wide side. Calvillo throwing, nearly picked off, but caught by Sylvain Girard.
Well, Sylvain Girard, who really has come on strong in the latter part of the season. He says, hey, all my teammates, all my other receivers getting all the limelight, all the glory. Well, you know what? He's been doing the job. Goes down, runs the back in on the corner, working against Adrian Smith. Contact is made. Great coverage. What a great catch by Girard.
Great positioning by Girard. And now Lapointe, another French-Canadian starter in that Montreal offense. A short gain at the 50. He was closed down quickly by Eric England and company.
I remember the last time these teams met, he did break one off for 77 yards for a touchdown. I like the fact that even though Montreal doesn't believe they have to run the ball that often, it does play games with the linebackers. You got to make this defense play honest and respect the run even if you don't do it a lot.
2nd and 9. Calvillo getting time, but overthrowing the intended receiver, Dave Stala, in the absence of Kwame Cavill, and the Argos hold defensively after that impressive march by Calvillo on the last series.
Well, they hold and they get a little pressure on Anthony Cavill, and that's what you have to do. He sits there, he throws the ball a little high over the intended receiver, Stala, but you've got to do that. Also changed up the coverage a little bit. Just mixed it up, a little bit of match coverage that time, sending a little extra defender to the 3 receiver side.
Clements was looking for 14 points from his special teams. He's halfway there as Livingston back to accept a high, short Mariscal punt. And they'll angle those punts all day to the sidelines to cut Livingston off. Don Matthews doesn't want to give the Argos opportunities to return punts, so he wants those kicks angled, but at 32 yards, is that enough distance? Is he losing in the trade-off by?
Well, I think the fact is, if you're kicking it and you're only getting 32 yards, but you're limiting the return by the returner after you just saw what Arlen Bruce did, that's a good trade-off.
Those numbers indicate the Argos have the best special teams in recent years. Arlen Bruce up to the 40. In fact, over a 2-year period, no team has ever had more than 10 except for the Argos, and that includes the great Eskimo teams led by Gizmo Williams, as you see. So, and the Argos have had 7 kick return touchdowns in each of the last 2 years. No team's ever done that. The Eskimos' best was 6 in a year. And that does not include today's Arlen Bruce 97-yard kickoff. So it's as dangerous a 1-2 punch as we've ever seen in CFL returns. Tony Miles with a catch at midfield, a first down for the Argonauts. And Miles, the most seasoned in this offense as far as the Argo receivers.
Well, they're going to keep John Avery in as an extra blocker. That's going to buy Damon Allen just that extra second to throw the football. He finds the ever elusive Tony Miles, who just breaks it into the opening inside the hash mark with a big catch and a first down.
The first kickoff changed things dramatically. The Argos stiffened on defense and now putting a couple of first downs together. Miles again, one-on-one against Davis Sanchez on the corner.
The biggest thing that Damon Allen's doing so far is he's making great pre-snap reads. Sees the defense, makes his decision, and is getting rid of the football quickly, negating the pressure defense of the Alouettes.
That's something Ken Austin talked about yesterday, simplifying the calls for Allen against Montreal. Every time he comes to the line, he has 2 options. Are they dropping off? Are they blitzing?
And they've broken it down to certain personnel. That might be Tim Strickland. They also know if Tim Strickland comes up and he drops off, a lot of times they're going to drop 8 into the secondary and only rush 4. If Anwar Stewart drops, they drop 9. They're trying to take away that quick hitch pass to the outside. With number 9, of course, Anwar Stewart, we know what he can do on the outside with 4 interceptions from that defensive end position. He's returning 2 of those for touchdowns.
The reads will be different on the next play because Tim Strickland down, and the man who makes the calls in the Alouette defensive huddle will be helped off and will not be available for at least 3 plays.
Well, these are the things you cannot control in a football game. The injuries. You may have the best record, you may dominate everybody, but when you lose key personnel, we already saw Kwame Cavill go out with a suspected concussion. Now Tim Strickland is hobbling off the football field. Now their backups have to make their presence felt. Now that might be Patrick Dorvalis or Michael Botterill. Just working, just kind of gets his feet caught in a little attempted shuck on the intended receiver. R.J. Soward.
And so Strickland on the limp. As you can see, he was prominent in that Alouette defense. Argos have yet to run the ball. 8 straight passes, now looking at 2nd and 3. And flags down before that play got off.
Montreal's going to get called for offside. It's a nice job by Damon Allen of changing the snap count, catching the blitzing defense, jumping the gun.
Offside. Montreal 94. First down.
You a little surprised that the Argos have done nothing to try and establish a run here in the first quarter?
Well, right now, the way they're moving the football through the air, that might be a moot point.
Robert Brown jumped. Patrick Dorvalis had checked in for Tim Strickland. First down for the Argos. Allen going deep. R.J. Soward drops it. Oh, he's been a deep threat this year. Has made some big plays, but there's one he didn't make.
He gets a touchdown, Chris, every 3 throws. He's got only 15 receptions. He's got 5 touchdowns. He is a big play receiver, as you say. He's got to have that catch. What a beautifully thrown football by Damon Allen.
Took a hit from Dorvalis, but delivered a ball that should have been a major. Good first quarter and a 1-point Argo lead. Welcome back to Olympic Stadium, the first time in 25 years that the Alouettes have enjoyed back-to-back crowds of over 50,000 at the Big O. As we start the second quarter, the Argos 2nd and 10 on the Montreal 43. A 1-point lead, and Allen back to throw. Down the middle, it's picked off. Kelly Melville will run a long way back and then get tagged by Robert Baker.
Well, Robert Baker made the play, but Kelly Melville read the eyes. So he sat back there on the far side halfback position and saw that Damon Allen was going to go down the seam all the way. He launches this football, 27, breaks off coverage, comes right in front of the intended receiver, R.J. Sauer, and then turns it back upfield. Baker with the tackle, but a big turnover by the Alouette defense.
4 interceptions on the year for Malvo, who won a Grey Cup here in Montreal as a Calgary Stampeder in 2001. Damon Allen threw just 4 interceptions all season. Alouettes get the ball back, a pump from Calvillo, deep to Anderson, tipped away. Oh, what a recovery there by the first-year corner, Jordan Younger.
Not giving up on the play. Jordan Younger plays more like a 5-year vet than a rookie. Makes up ground as the football is in the air, closing speed. Nice job because he initially got burnt on the pump fake. You see Cavill pump fake it. They get Thyron Anderson deep. Jordan Younger equal to the task.
And we have another Alouette down. And it's Sylvain Girard. So Cavill out of the game. Tim Strickland left, and now Girard hobbling off. He had injury problems this year, played just 9 games, limped off. The Argos had 3 All-Canadians in their secondary last year. Steinauer, Ivory, and Smith. And they really solidified the other side with this guy, Jordan Younger, on the corner. 2nd and 10. Calvillo, more time, and now flips it, Cahoon! And Bonner had them all lined up, but Cahoon comes down with a short gain as we check the first quarter numbers.
Well, Cahoon always finds an opening. As we take a look at the stats here, obviously no yards rushing, but they've thrown the short swing passes to Arland Bruce III. That's making up for the running game. They're using Avery as a blocker. Got the first turnover, the second quarter obviously by Allen trying to go deep, intercepted by Malvo. And obviously their edge in the return yards from Arland Bruce.
There's some hard downhill running by Jonas Lewis. Cahoon got a good spot in the first down, and then Lewis will move the chains again with that.
Well, Jonas Lewis is not shy to talk to the media. Made no bones about the fact that he feels that he is an impact player. Hasn't been here a long time. When talking about going downfield and making tackles on Livingston, he says the guy's soft. Hard to believe, coming from a first-year player, talking about Livingston.
Nothing soft about that run. 13, and now 13 rolls right. Cavillo, and he's upended, lunging forward to the line of scrimmage. And not much more. Remember that scamper late last year in the Eastern Final. Calvillo providing the winning points. Controversial winning points as he was stripped at the goal line of the football by Clifford Ivory. But once in a while, he'll take off.
Well, I think it's a smart move. I mean, Anfield's not known as a quarterback who's fleet of foot, who'll challenge the outside, the parameter of the football field. You have to do that to stretch that defense. Make that end think about you.
4 receivers wide side, 2nd and 10. And Cavillo hit as he unleashed, and that ball was up for grabs, but falls harmlessly to the turf as we join Brenda.
Taken away defender Kenny Wheaton's helmet. I spoke with him. He said he doesn't know how it happened, but he suffered a slight concussion. He said he got off the turf, can't remember exactly what happened. He's been trying to get Aaron's okay to get back into the game, but so far it's a no-go.
Chuck Winters has been in that spot, and as Mariscal punted that away, play was stopped, and there is Wheaton trying to plead his case. He wants back in, but apparently is not ready to go. Mariscal, everybody stopped and wasn't sure if the officials had whistled play down, but it was just a 26-yard punt marked out at the 17 as the Argos go to work. More flags down, and Allen takes off. And we won't see Damon Allen run as much as the good old days, but he's up to the 25, and we'll wait for the penalty call.
Well, I think that Damon Allen has to run like the good old days today. I don't think he can sit back in the pocket. Montreal's going to get called offside again. It's a good job again of Damon Allen changing the snap count, catching the blitzing defense. But Damon Allen must attack this defense not only with his arm, but with his legs. He can still get it done. Make yourself a threat both ways.
Number? Offside, Montreal 26. First down repeated.
Kerry Samuel, the defensive end, who will fill in there at that left defensive end spot.
In the 3-game losing streak for the Alouettes near the end of the year, Samuel was benched for some missed assignments. Back in now. And a 1st and 5 for the Argos. Looking wide side, Bruce with the catch, but immediately tagged by Reggie Durden, who has the reputation of being the best cover man back there for Montreal and the only man in the secondary playing the same spot as in last year's Grey Cup.
Well, you bring the blitz up the middle, you force the ball. Bruce goes back, reaches behind, makes the nice catch, but as you say, Reggie Durden right there to bring him down. But again, good first down production. Picking up 8 yards, put yourself in a 2nd and 2 situation.
3rd catch for Bruce, 2nd and 2. Remember, Durden had a fumble recovery touchdown 2 years ago in the Eastern Final. Here's an out and a 1st down, and Tony Miles with the catch. The Argos lost the services of Miles for an extended period this year, and yet he still caught 62 for 740 yards.
Well, again, the blitz is going to come. Now, what you don't see, R.J. Soward is going to clear. He's running the streak pattern. Tony Miles is right beside him, and he cuts it underneath to the sideline, gets himself wide open.
At the 32. 1st down, Argonauts. Good early numbers for Allen. And a nice catch there by Miles, stretching out at the 36-yard line.
Now, Tony Miles gets up, doesn't really put much of a emphasis other than walking back to the huddle. Nice job of trying to stretch out, picking up this football. Again, working against Kelly Malvo, breaking it off to the sideline.
And clearly,
that's a good call by the official.
2nd and 10. Dave Ewell wants to confer with the line judge. They marked the ball where Miles dropped it.
I guess the guy carrying the yards, obviously a Toronto fan, wanted to give the catch to Tony Miles, but we got to go back. It's 2nd and 10.
Had a huge Eastern Final last year, a pair of touchdowns and over 100 yards. 2nd and 10, 6 receivers out. Allen with time, looking deep, looking for Miles, and overthrowing the Argo wideout.
And another skirmish going on behind the scenes with this O-line and defensive line.
And Damon Allen on the limp too. He took a hit as he delivered the football. And at the bottom of that pile,
well, is that a surprise?
Quarterback killer.
Is that a surprise? Number 75, who stirs it up, the Hornets' nest, always getting involved with the offensive line. He's been accused of being a little less than legitimate football player, a little bit dirty. And again, you see him go down on the knees, and that is bad. That's after the play. It's side right? The shot at the side of the knees. He's down. I mean, this is a look at 64. You were right there. The official is there. I cannot believe they didn't make that call.
That's a 15-yard penalty. We've seen some weak calls protecting the quarterback this year. That one has to be made. As Ezra Landry returns the kick.
Chris, that's not a 15-yard penalty. That's an attempt to injure. That's a game disqualification penalty. They should have called it. All right?
He's the modern-day Angelo Mosca. Ed Fillion having a field-wide conversation with somebody on the Argo bench.
You just can't do this. Now watch, the ball's freezing there. The ball is gone now, and here's Ed Fillion. Now run it, guys, and look at this. And look where he hits him. It is straight at the knees. You know, they say that unless you're pushed into the quarterback, you are not allowed to hit the quarterback below the waist.
Alouette football, flag down, and Anwar Stewart, who was in on the hit of Damon Allen, caught the football and makes the catch. Stewart with a couple of catches during the season, and that's one of the reasons he wears number 9. And we do have flags down, and we'll sort this out. I wanted to get back to Fillion as Ewell makes the call.
Montreal 65. First down repeated.
Paul Lambert. But yesterday he was going through the list of quarterbacks he has injured. Kahari Jones, Stanley Jackson, Damon Allen, Nealon Green, Casey Britters. And then after he listed them, he said, all clean hits.
Well, I know that I've talked to a couple of guys, obviously having close contact in Winnipeg, and they felt that when he put Kahari out that he was twisting the ankle in the pile. So I guess he'll do whatever it takes to get the job done. And, you know, if it gets you to the championship game.
Second down, first down and 20. Calvillo going deep, up for grabs, and incomplete. Younger had a shot at it, and Ben Cahoon nearly got it on the ricochet, but it's a long incompletion. But Ed Fillion is a guy that everybody wants on their team. He is a talented, hard-nosed nose tackle.
Well, the comment was that you don't like to play against him, but you like to have him on your team because of the fact he's such a fiery individual. And, I mean, he may bend the rules a little bit. We saw one flagrant right there, but the fact is he is hard-nosed, and he'll do whatever it takes to win. He's got that no-lose attitude.
Second and 20. Calvillo flushed. Ivan tracks him and brings him down. There's the top Canadian in the East, Kevin Ivan, with the sack. And yesterday, Don Matthews told us that anybody that voted for Ivan, their ballots aren't valid. He felt strongly that Ben Cahoon should have got the vote.
As well as I do that he is the biggest proponent. He markets his players like no other coach in the CFL. Obviously, he was upset that Ben Cahoon didn't get the nod, but how do you overlook a guy, number 35, Kevin Ivan, who's just done it all? He's led the CFL in tackles. He's the first Canadian linebacker to do so. I mean, you just gotta like the way the guy plays. He's all over the football field. It was a great choice.
Mariscal the punt, then Livingston fielding it at the 45. Great coverage, and he's nailed immediately after a 38-yard punt. Livingston gets 2 on the return, and they'll scrum up there as the tempers are short here midway through the second quarter. Well, the Argos sensitive on this issue because they haven't got through the last 2 Eastern Finals without their starting quarterback being injured.
Well, 2 years ago, Reggie Slack, and obviously there's Ed Fillion again right in the middle of that.
Ed forgot Reggie Slack.
Well, he won't after he sees the film here, and then of course Tito Simpson fractured his hand last year, and then of course Tito Simpson's also the defensive tackle that has cracked his left tibia.
Tough job for a 41-year-old grandfather, but he's back in and nearly picked. Tony Miles sat down, and Allen was reading the play differently. And Davis Sanchez nearly picked it off.
Well, that's a feeling of helplessness if you're the receiver, Tony Miles, because as he sits down right now, he doesn't even have an opportunity to break on that football. Helplessly, he's got to watch and hope that Sanchez doesn't come up with the interception on the play. Fillion again working. This time you see a little retribution. John Avery getting in his face saying, you know what? Watch your legs, son. I'm coming to cut them.
Allen's pulled off just 2 of his last 7. Second down, and he'll take off, and wisely got down with Robert Brown in the neighborhood. And now Filion, and it's tied up with one of those big offensive linemen again.
Well, Filion's getting into it. John Avery's downfield, mixing up with Dwayne Butler. You see the emotions still running very high right now. And I tell you, right now, they know on the sideline that a cheap shot was taken at their quarterback. He's their bread and butter guy. He's the guy that'll get them to Ottawa next week to the big game, the Grey Cup. You cannot get away with hitting the quarterback, much like running a goalie in hockey.
Damon Allen crossed the line of scrimmage, so that's considered the first official run of the game. And Prefontaine checked back in with 5'3" Ezra Landry awaiting. Landry returned a missed field goal, 110 yards against the Argos in his CFL debut. He's brought down as he hits the 33-yard line. 43-yard punt. 12 on the return as Damon Allen stretches it. Montreal march at the 31. Hitch in the flat. And that's Girard back in the game. So good news for the Alouettes, who lost Cavill. That Girard, who was injured earlier, has returned.
Well, I think you hit it on the head as we watch again a hitch pass. Going to get out to Girard, get some blockers in front of him. Thyron Anderson trying to get the block. Adrian Smith, the veteran, comes up, wraps him up. The coverage of the Argonauts in the secondary, much tighter, much more physical with the receivers since that easy drive in the first quarter by the Alouettes.
5 for Girard, 2nd and 5. A lot of time, Calvillo underneath. Thyron Anderson, the wideout, a crossing pattern and a first down.
You cannot cover Thyron Anderson with the linebacker, especially a middle linebacker, Mike O'Shea. Now, Mike O'Shea, he's a smart middle linebacker. He's the leader, and he's right in the middle right here. But he can't cover. He's got to pick him up as he comes across right now. That's a mismatch all day. Not only has Thyron Anderson got some height on him, but he's definitely got speed on Mike O'Shea.
The 4th man to hit 1,000 in that Alouette receiving corps. He was actually 8th in the league when all the stats were in. Swing pass, Eric Lapointe crashing across midfield and stopped by Michael Fletcher, one of the active Argo linebackers, who was overlooked as an all-star in the East, and Pinball Clements was critical of that oversight when we talked to him yesterday.
Well, who would know their players better than the head coach himself? So obviously when you're working with your players and one of your players you feel has done outstanding work all year and gets neglected by the writers who vote for the all-star team, obviously you're going to say something.
2nd and 5. Calvillo underneath, Cahoon with the catch at the 45-yard line, and another first down, and that's Chuck Winters in, replacing Kenny Wheaton at defensive halfback for Toronto.
I know they like Chucky Winters. I mean, he comes across, he's a good cover guy, he stays right there, he brings down Ben Cahoon, but not before he picks up a first down. But the thing is, as we take a look at the fantastic force of what they've done this season, the fact is that Kenny Wheaton gives you that hit. He is a power hitter. He'll knock the receivers out of the game.
Again, Cavill hurt and has not returned. The screen was botched as there was plenty of interference being run by the Argos along the line, and it will be 2nd and 10. Anthony Calvillo told us yesterday that if you saw an early march, it meant that he was reading everything, and the Argos had not surprised him. He said, if we go 2 and out a few times, you know that they've changed their look and we'll have to make our own adjustments.
We take a look at his numbers, regular season versus postseason, obviously a little down, but I don't care. You look at a guy, he's the outstanding player in the CFL last year, runner-up the year before, and he's up for it again this year.
And he has Cahoon, his 5th catch of the game, down to the 20.
Just a situation of having football smarts. Ben Cahoon reads defenses as well as the quarterbacks do. Sees the zone coverage, and you see he gets right behind the linebacker, Kevin Ivan. He knows where the holes in the defense is, and then Cavill gets the time to throw the football. Bam, big completion, 5 catches, 77 yards, and once again, The Alouettes are marching.
He had a 10-catch game against Toronto earlier this season. And now, a little hit screen, Copeland inside. And he's down to the 10-yard line. Antonius Bonner with the stop as they give the benches the 3-minute warning. Alouettes threatening here in the second quarter. Last year they were the dynamic duo. The most receptions ever by two players on the same team. 211 for Jermaine Copeland and Ben Cahoon. And they have been prominent on this drive.
Well, they're doing a nice job of mixing up the plays, attacking downfield down the middle of the football field, and then coming back the next play and going to the sideline on a quick hitch, tiring out those linebackers of the Toronto Argonauts.
In fact, those two combined for 27 touchdowns last year. The four horsemen this year, only 26 between the four. First down at the 10. Calvillo flushed, and he'll slide feet first in front of Michael O'Shea at the line of scrimmage.
Well, when he gets outside, we saw him run to the right and break contain. This time he goes to the left side, finds an opening, but has to slide, picks up 1 yard, if that. They're going to call it 2nd and 10, but you got to give credit to the secondary of the Argonauts, who did a nice job of covering downfield.
Ball was right on the 10. We're just debating whether it's 2nd and goal, and for all intents and purposes it would be. There's a problem snap, loose ball, and the Argos come up with it. Jonathan Brown has the football, and the Alouettes squander a golden opportunity.
Well, during a football game, Chris, they say you'll have 5 big plays. You need to win the majority of those to win the football game. Well, this is a big play for the Argonauts right now, as Calvillo just can't find a handle on this direct snap, fumbles the football. Jonathan Brown comes up with a huge recovery, snuffing out a potential scoring drive by the Alouettes.
For Jonathan Brown, it was the 3rd fumble recovery on the year. Just over 2 minutes to go. Flags fly, and it looked like Montreal offside again.
I think it's Tito Simpson, 96, the interior defensive tackle of the Alouettes, who jumps the gun. Well, Chris, what a big break for the Argonauts.
Ryan Chew, the all-Canadian. He's done that once or twice this year where he's pulling out.
Offside. Montreal 96. Still first down.
Remember, he also missed the last couple of weeks with an injury. He's back.
So the errant snap, and it's vacuumed up by a sure-handed Jonathan Brown. The turnover's even. And snuffing Montreal momentum, preserving this 1-point lead. Allen looking downfield. And Arlen Bruce curled. The pass falls incomplete. During the regular season, the Alouettes were in the Argo scoring zone 15 times and scored only 3 touchdowns.
Well, that basically tells you right there, that's a bend but not great defense. They had to settle for a lot of field goals, and 3 points is a lot better to give up than 7.
Whereas the Argos only 3 times in 3 games. The only consolation, they pushed it in twice.
But so far in this football game today, Chris, we've seen a better offensive output from the Argonauts.
Second down over. Now Bruce gets a first down up at the 34-yard line. Bruce stumbled, but he does have it up for the first.
But once again, a quick hitch, and the thing that's really mystifying to me is the halfback is playing so far off Arlen Bruce. The corner's up tight in coverage. That allows the halfback, by him playing so far deep, it's just a quick pitch to Arlen Bruce. Bring him. They pick up a first down and move it out of their shadows of their end zone.
Allen. Bruce looked like he wanted to throw, pulls it down instead, and spins away from 2 up to the 45. And the Argo bench erupts. They thought maybe Bruce got a late hit.
Well, it looked like he got a late hit as somebody would-be tacklers. A little piling on after he was down. Identical play to the previous one, little hitch pass. This time to the opposite side of the football field, spin move. Great balance shown by Arlen Bruce.
Now, did he have the option to throw there?
Well, I like the fact that he does put that in their mind, the defensive minds.
First down up at the 45. Just over a minute to go, and stretching out with the catch at the 50 is Tony Miles. Just 3 catches for 15 yards last week in the Eastern Semi.
Well, Tony Miles is getting a lot of these quick hitters. Picking up 5 yards. He's doing an excellent job of coming up with these catches. These aren't easy catches because the coverage is right there. Look at Sanchez. He's right there to take the legs out. But watch what happens now. Little pump and fake. Maybe you'll catch Sanchez cheap.
2nd and 5 from the 50. Here comes the blitz. Allen underneath, and Arlen Bruce has another first down. Arlen Bruce did not catch more than 4 in any game during the regular season. That's his 5th catch of this first half for 50 yards.
Well, he's doing it all. We've seen him on a hitch pass this time, just a little over route over the middle. Comes up with another first down.
Argos in there, hurry up. Allen with some time. Bruce getting jostled and incomplete. And a reminder that coming up at halftime, we'll have the panel. Came out of his 3-point stance early, and they'll march this back 5.
Interesting thing that's happening already, Chris, is the fact that because Damon Allen's getting some success throwing the football, it's taken Montreal out of their pressure blitzing defense right now. They're doing a lot more of the zone, dropping 8 guys, trying to take away throwing lanes from Damon Allen.
Illegal procedure. Toronto 67.
Fugle the right tackle.
Timer.
Second time this afternoon or this evening he's been called on that infraction.
Reset the clock to 30 seconds. 30 seconds.
Asking for 1 second to be added onto the clock here. So a half minute remaining in a defensive first half. The Argos with a 1-point lead on the strength of a Arlen Bruce 97-yard kickoff return, and trying to enhance that lead before they get to the dressing room. 2nd and 15, Allen underneath, and Bruce is upended at the 53, not even back to the original line of scrimmage.
Anwar Stewart, who's up for the top defensive player in the CFL. What a move to the inside on the left, on the right tackle. Fugle just beats him, comes in there, forces Damon Allen to step up, get rid of that football. He finds Arlen Bruce, but brought down by Kevin Johnson.
I think that Prefontaine will be trying to angle this away from any possible Landry return. High punt, and it does go out inside the 10, so Prefontaine gets the job done beautifully. And time runs out in the half. Dominated by defense, and Mike Clements halfway to the goal of winning the special teams battle by 14 points.
Halftime in Montreal, the Argonauts lead by a point. Back live at BC Place Stadium here in Vancouver, where earlier today, that's False Creek, we move left from the Cambie Street Bridge. Earlier today in overtime, BC defeated Saskatchewan 27-25. We'll talk with Wally Buono in just a minute, head coach of the Lions. Sean Millington, Greg Frères, Danny McManus with me. I'm Brian Williams. Right now, let's talk about the first half of this Toronto-Montreal game. Sean, you played for Don Matthews. He always makes a big change before a big game.
Well, as last year he replaced his defensive backs, this year he replaces one of his running backs. He takes Autry Denson off and puts on Jonas Lewis, but I think the bigger significance is also that we have Eric Lapointe. I mean, Jonas Lewis hasn't really had an opportunity to make a whole lot happen this year, but here we see him taking the most of what he's given and getting things done with it.
Now, Pinball Clemens said he needed 14 points from his special teams. Greg Frers, he is halfway there.
Yeah, and we were kind of laughing at that comment because we felt like it really spoke volumes to the lack of productivity they had offensively. But when you have returners like Arlan Bruce and Livingston back there, you can take it the distance anytime, and their kickoff returns end up being their best offensive weapon. Arlan Bruce returns this 98 yards, his kickoff return. That's the 3rd return for him this season, the 7th for their team this year, and it's electric every time the ball is in their hands.
Now, Danny, you would agree. Quarterbacks need protection. We saw you against Toronto. Yes. Once they just touched you, and they called a penalty.
He was crying. Well, see, I don't want the officials to get upset with this, but that was obvious. It looked like there was something going on there that he definitely went right after Damon's leg. I mean, that's Ed Fillion. Everyone knows the track record. You heard Chris Walby. I know if Chris was coming back in that huddle with me, he'd say, call the play my way. I'm going after this guy. And that might be what's happening in Toronto right now, is that they're looking to see, how can we get Ed back? Don't worry about Ed. You got 11 other guys you've got to worry about. That drive at the end of the first half was not bad. They need to keep doing some stuff like that and continue their progress.
You mentioned the drive wasn't bad. Toronto still doesn't have much of an offense. They've still got their quarterback, unlike the previous 2 years when Reggie Slack was hurt and Damon Allen. You used a word earlier in the pregame show talking about Toronto's offense.
Well, their offense definitely has a ton of talent, but, there's still an offense that has potential. You don't want to be known as a team of potential because that just speaks that you haven't produced anything yet. I think of the missed catch that R.J. Soward had in his hands, had the opportunity to make a play, and he missed it. You know what? This team needs to start making plays. That's how you're going to win this football game.
And Damon Allen is supposed to be the leader of this team. He's one of those guys who's got to step up and make those plays that you're referring to. He's got to make some completions and make things happen with his legs.
We'll take a break. Up next from here in Vancouver, we'll talk with the head coach of the BC Lions, Wally Buono. By the way, the Lions beat Montreal twice this year and defeated Toronto once. This is the CFL on CBC.
History of Excellence, brought to you by Nissan.
George Dixon played 7 seasons in the CFL, all with the Montreal Alouettes. The 195-pound back out of Bridgeport, Connecticut, electrified crowds across the country. The outstanding player in 1962, he averaged an incredible 6.3 yards per carry. He was a great back who could do it all. The city of Montreal has a wonderful and long football history. So many great names. Names like running back George Dixon. Back live at BC Place Stadium, where earlier today in overtime, the BC Lions defeated Saskatchewan 27-25 before more than 55,000. Duncan O'Mahony, a 47-yard field goal to tie it on the final play of regulation, then a 40-yarder to win it in overtime. And as promised, head coach Wally Buono joins us. Congratulations, going back to the Grey Cup, first time with the BC Lions.
Well, it's going to be a lot of fun, and today was a typical Western final. Both teams are fighting tooth and nail to try to get a win, and it was tough. It was a very emotional game. It was a very tough game, and obviously when this place is full, it's a tremendous atmosphere.
We met with you yesterday, and I said, look, O'Mahony's never kicked a field goal in the playoffs, and you get a little agitated. You said, I'm tired of people putting him down. I've got confidence in him.
Well, the thing you have to understand about Duncan, as I said, he's mentally tough. I was waiting for him to come up and tell me he wanted to kick that 48-yard field goal. And, because I've learned that over the years with Mark McLaughlin, when he thinks he can make it, he's going to come up and tell me. And, the great ones have the confidence. He came up and says, Coach, I can do this. And that's when we put him in.
Hey, Wally, like you said, it's an emotional roller coaster. Talk to me a little about the atmosphere that was on the sidelines with your players.
Well, obviously, it's up and down like a yo-yo. But, this is something we've done all year, whether we like it or not. Coming back, fighting through adversity has not been something that's new to us.
Now, Coach, I know it's early, and I don't want to be the one to bring it up. I know it's going to come up by the media. But Casey's situation, if you go a little bit on that, on how he's feeling, and then just the way Dave played. I mean, we know him and how he played, but for him to come out and the way what he's kind of handled the things that happened this year, how does that? What kind of feelings does that make for you?
Well, it gives me a tremendous sense of confidence, as it did today. We had no concerns about our quarterbacking position, and we know right now that, if Casey isn't going to do it, Dave is, and if Dave isn't going to do it, Spurge is going to be in. So, when you have that confidence and that depth, I think it's great for the team.
Coach, talk to us about Antonio Warren. Was he going to this game as big a part of your plans as he turned out to be in the end?
Well, he was going to be a big part of our plans. We wanted to definitely run the ball the way we did. We wanted to include him in the passing game, and that was a special play that we had put in. So, you know, Antonio's a great athlete. I think now he's back in the groove. You know, he hadn't played football really for 2 years. He was in the NFL, but, you know, he really didn't play. And, you know, he's been great, I'd say, the last, 14, 15 games.
Coach, again, Dave Dickinson came in, had the great finish to the game. Again, what is the current condition for Printers?
Well, the only thing I'm going to say is that he got cramps in his leg. That's as far as I know. And
cramps in his leg.
That's what I was told.
Does he throw with his legs?
I don't know. I heard he cramped up, so let's just leave it at that.
All right, we'll say a bruised shoulder. Wally Buono, thank you. Congratulations. We'll see you in Ottawa.
Well, thank you. It'll be a lot of fun.
Cramped legs and all. Next, we go back live to Montreal. Chris Cuthbert, Chris Walby, and Brenda Irving will have the second half. You're watching the Championship Division Finals on CBC.
Back at Olympic Stadium as we ready ourselves for the second half. Alouettes won all 3 regular season meetings, but it's the Argos by 1 at the half here as we join Brenda Irving.
Mike Lennon's team leads here in Montreal by a single point. Mike, heading to this game, you said that it was very important for your team to win the special teams battle. How did it feel to get that early touchdown?
That was big for us, and we thought after the first kickoff, that they had sort of overloaded the boundary, and we might have a chance at that. Everybody executed, and Arlen Bruce did a great job. What a wonderful job they do and as they play together.
A lot of talk heading into this game about Damon Allen and the offense. How do you get it going in the second half?
Well, yeah, I thought the offense did a good job of moving the football at times. We also had a chance downfield. What the offense has done a good job of keeping us in the ball game, keeping the defense fresh, but we have to score points. We got to finish.
Good luck in the second.
Thank you.
Well, Pinball talked about that big return, and upon further review, knee down out before he got there. So the Argos get the benefit of a generous official's call, and they won't apologize for it. Because remember, a year ago in the Eastern Final, and a controversial late Alouette touchdown that provided the winning points. Calvillo on the run, headed for pay dirt. Clifford Ivory with the strip, and the ball coming loose just prior to crossing the line. Ancient history, but maybe things evening out.
Little payback.
Prefontaine to kickstart the second half. The BC Lions going to Ottawa, and now these two Eastern rivals trying to complete the picture as Jonas Lewis returns the kickoff. And we check the numbers through the opening 30 minutes.
Well, obviously 8-7's a score, and it's a very defensive, defined football game. Turnovers, not a huge story, but having said that, the costly error on the botched snap from Chu to Calvillo, that's big. Obviously, time of possession right here, but I still like the fact that Toronto is doing just the right amount of time to give their defense a rest, allowing them to move the football.
Well, the Alouettes known for their halftime adjustments, and that hitch to Cahoon snuffed. Check AC's distribution in the opening half.
Well, he's utilized the entire football field. He's tried to go left and right, and of course he loves to go deep. 25 yards. He's got good numbers, 16-23, only 174 yards. Obviously no touchdowns, no interceptions.
And that's true to form for an Argo defense. They'll give you the underneath. They just don't give away the big plays, and so far that has been consistent here. Calvillo under pressure, down he goes. And a sack for Eric England, his third of the playoffs, and now Calvillo has been shaken up.
Well, this is huge.
Anthony Calvillo really has not been rattled since late last year in a game against BC, but he's never missed a start in 5 years.
He is grimacing in pain right now. Eric England coming off the outside at the defensive end position. As we see Ted White, the backup quarterback, Noah Cantor in the middle, working against Chu, gets the penetration. That forces Anthony to take to the outside. He can't step up in the pocket. And that allows Eric England to come from the backside and wrap him up, and he goes down hard on that right shoulder, the throwing shoulder. And you can see he just rolls right over, and he grabs it right there. This has been a game of injuries, Chris. We saw early in the game, Kwame Cavill get ear hold. He left the game with a possible concussion. Strickland with the hamstring. Gerard went to the locker room to check out his knee. He's back.
We're told Robert Brown suffered a broken nose, but this may have the most impact on the game. Ted White, who got late season action against Ottawa and Toronto, and in very short order proved that he might be able to get
Chris, I don't like the way he's holding that arm. Take a look at that arm. That's usually indication of a separation or something in the shoulder joint. He's holding it up. He can't even drop the arm.
The last two Eastern Finals, an Argo quarterback has not been able to finish, and now it would appear that it's Montreal's turn to try and recover from an injury to the signal caller. Argo should get good field position, and Bruce leveled by Philippe Gerard. But the story's on the sidelines, and Anthony Calvillo appears to be headed to the dressing room. The game so far, Anthony Calvillo knocked out and headed to the Alouette dressing room along with one of the team doctors after this hit by Eric England.
Well, Eric England just going to keep working. Good pressure up the middle by Noah Cantor, and he comes around and drives him hard into the turf. And we know that he's got some sort of right shoulder throwing shoulder injury.
And now the Argos with the best start for either team on the Alouette side of half. A reception by Robert Baker, but a flag down as Ted White heats up along the sidelines. Yes, he is the backup quarterback, not the backup defensive end.
Well, he's a specimen, I tell you. And you know what? How fortunate for him, the Alouettes, to have allowed Ted White to get some playing action late in the season, because he is going to have to be the man right now and answer the bell. Now, the thing is, you talk about Anthony Calvillo leaving the football game. What about the emotional blow to the Alouettes? They know that Anthony Calvillo is their leader, most outstanding player, gets the job done, never gets razzed. You know, he just knows how to do it. Nothing phases him. All of a sudden, he's out of the football game.
A holding call against Sandy Annunziata. Marches it back into Argo territory at the 49. Big rush, but Allen escapes across midfield, and Allen lunging forward all the way to the 45-yard line. He gets 15 back.
Well, we take a look at what Damon Allen has done, and you know what? He's had a lot of success low, throwing the hitch passes to Arlen Bruce, who has broken tackles and picked up first downs. They have not run the football. John Avery, who does not have a carry this football game, but he's been utilized as a blocker, and Damon does the next best thing, and that gets his slot backs involved with short passes.
The third leading rusher all time in the CFL. Allen got 15. Bruce over the middle with a catch and a first down at the 39. And Arlen Bruce has made an impact on this Argo offense today.
Well, he's made an impact on the special teams, and he's the leading receiver for the Argonauts on offense. Just gets the job done. He's big, he's tough, he's not afraid to go over the middle and make the tough catches. If you're Montreal, you got to pick it up on defense right now, because of the emotional letdown of seeing your leader leave the field. It's your defense that has to rise to the occasion right now.
Reggie Durden out of the game. Richard Carey in, and for the first time today, John Avery with a carry, and he's stopped in the backfield.
Well, it's always tough to run the football if you're going to get penetration and you have somebody in your face before you take your first step. It's exactly what happened to John Avery. By the time he receives the football, designed to go to the left side, nothing there. He hasn't got any opportunity to cut it back as Kerry Samuel, 26, brings him down.
But now the Alouettes working without Tim Strickland and without Reggie Durden. 2nd and 12. receiver, overthrown by 5 yards.
Yeah, R.J. Soward, who in the first quarter dropped a sure touchdown pass. This play, it looks like he's a little injured. The hamstring might have tightened up as he kind of limps off. Looked like he kind of stopped running on the play, Chris. He had to give up on that football. That may be the reason why.
Andre Rison not in the lineup for the Argonauts. As Soward looks uncomfortable getting to the sidelines. Prefontaine wants to angle it out. And this one will roll down and get the Argo bounce. No, it does get to the orange marker and a single point. Brooks working on R.J. Soward. That's the first point since the 10:54 mark of the first quarter. Argos now with a 2-point lead, and Ted White is at the controls for the Alouettes. Guys talking about establishing a running game for Montreal, and maybe this is Jonas Lewis's time to make an impact.
You know what? You hit it on the head, Chris, because what happens now is when Anthony Cavill is in the football game, he doesn't have to rely on the running game. He knows what his receivers can do. He knows the offense so well. But when you get a backup guy in now, Ted White, you need to help him get comfortable. Therefore, the run game becomes even more paramount for Ted White and the Alouette offense.
A couple of weeks ago, he was 7 for 7 for 80 yards against the Argonauts. Second in short yardage. And Lewis should have enough for the first down. This has been the story of the game. Stingy defense. Jordan Younger with that athletic play. Noah Cantor and the troops up front, putting on the pressure. That front three, Brown with a fumble recovery, and then England with the sack that has knocked EC out of this game, at least for the time being, and it would appear for the night.
Well, England and Cantor in the middle, and Jonathan Brown on the other side, and those three guys have really made a difference so far in this football, getting pressure on Anthony Cavill, and obviously the big hit by England putting Cavill out of the football game.
It is a seasoned group. 8 with at least 4 years of CFL experience on that Argo defense. White looking deep. Ted White up for grabs. And Copeland's got him.
How does Copeland come up with this catch? I am looking at Adrian Smith saying he's coming over. This is a surefire interception. This ball is in the air a long time. Ted White lofts it up. It just sits and sits. You see Adrian Smith leaving his feet way too early on the play. Instead of continuing running toward the football, he tries to time his jump. He doesn't time it correctly.
Over 100 yards in each of the last 2 Grey Cups. 42 on that play that is sure to give the Alouettes a shot in the arm. Eric Lapointe. Hard running down to the 17. Kevin Ivan the tackle.
Well, a shot in the arm, but also some confidence for Ted White. You know, we talked about the fact that he's played very sparingly at the end of the year, but he's looked sharp in that short period of time. Obviously, when you throw the ball deep and Copeland comes up with a big catch, that's going to give confidence to the young quarterback.
I was thinking about the offense getting a little confidence. It's not over, even though the big guy's gone.
Well, you also got to remember, the Argo defense cannot relax now.
2nd and 5. White pumps, throws, and this one drops incomplete harmlessly at the goal line.
Well, Eric England again making his presence felt at that defensive end spot, coming up, putting a hit on Ted White.
You know, this is 2 weeks in a row, Chris, that a 3-man Argo rush is getting the job done.
Well, they really had a game last week against Hamilton. They run a lot of stunts on that good Hamilton offensive line, causing some confusion in picking up the blitz. This time they bring it. They get good penetration again up the middle. That does not allow the quarterback to step up in the pocket. And any quarterback will tell you, if you can't step up, the outside guys are going to get you.
Matt Kellett, who missed much of the second half of the season with blurred vision. Sights were good there, and the Alouettes have the lead.
sitting there as they're watching this football game saying, great, you guys beat the heck out of each other, and watching all these players fall out, being unable to continue this football game, and that's what they'd like to meet either one of these teams with a injury-plagued lineup next week.
Argos start at the 50. There was a late roughing penalty on Paul Lambert after the field goal. So 15 yards tacked on to the Argos' decision to take the ball at the 35. And the temper short again as Ed Fillion is in the middle of it.
Well, they're showing a late hit again. That's what they're saying. The ball's delivered, and right again, he goes after that knee. That's 2 times he's gone away with a call. This time not as flagrant on it, but still low, not pushed into the quarterback. We talked about that. That is a league rule that was put in there to protect the quarterbacks. You have to hit him above the waist unless you're actually pushed into the quarterback.
2nd and 10. Allen guns to Arlen Bruce, and Patrick Dorvelis, who's had to fill the bill, a Montreal native, in for Tim Strickland. Closed quickly on Bruce, ensuring he would not get the first down.
Now Dorvelis just drops back. He's right over here, just going to drop back in zone coverage and close on the receiver. As soon as Bruce makes the catch, he's over to bring him down, forcing a punting situation.
Once again, Prefontaine will be looking to the sidelines. And there's been a big itch in this game for the Argos. A penalty flag down and the play stopped, which wipes out a terrific Prefontaine punt. And he'll have to do it again 5 yards further back as somebody moved quickly.
I believe it's the outside guys on the cover team leaving before the ball snapped.
Toronto offensive line.
Well, they're going to call the entire unit.
Oh, you'd love Dave Ewell. No incriminating evidence there.
Well, remember, they're not offensive line on the punt cover team. These are usually your linebackers and such. You're not used to taking a snap count.
Prefontaine loads it up again. And Landry from his 16. He's quick, but he's out. Stepped out at the 26-yard line.
If you want the best tasting orange juice, you let in only the best tasting oranges. Tropicana Pure Premium Orange Juice. To guarantee you the best taste, we've got to be very, very choosy.
Over 50,000 at Olympic Stadium. Anxiously watching a 1-point Montreal lead with the All-Canadian quarterback knocked out of the game. Ted White in relief. And once again, his first play call is to Jonas Lewis. There's Rich Stubler, defensive coordinator of the Argos, who now has to bark out different instructions with a different quarterback to be concerned with. And Doug Barry, his opposite number, the offensive coordinator of the Alouettes, has been conferring with White. Second short, and a big gain by Jonas Lewis. That's why he's in and Audrey Denson's not.
Well, Jonas Lewis, who is the MVP in the NFL Europe World Bowl game, can get the job done. He loves to run the football, wants to be a big factor. What a time to shine. But the offensive line is creating holes. Now, Ted White doesn't have to throw 30 balls in a football game if Jonas Lewis and offensive line keep getting the success they're getting now.
And remember, the Argos were last against the run, allowing 140 yards a game. Play action, pressure, and White shrugs it off. And looks for Cahoon, who has the catch at the 45-yard line. So Ted White, using that size advantage to make a huge play.
And there's an old adage, you never give up on the play until you hear the whistle. Good pressure initially up the front. There comes Jonathan Brown, and he thinks thinks he's got Ted White. Ted White's big. He shrugs him off. Look at him. He looks like he's going to run the football, and he finds the ever-elusive Ben Cahoon once again, who keeps working, changes his route, finds the opening, comes back, and helps his quarterback.
7th catch for Cahoon, 22 yards the pickup. They go to the right side to Lewis, and just back to the line of scrimmage.
Now, one of the reasons teams have success running the football on Toronto is they run a 3-4. And as a result, you only have 3 down linemen and you have 4 linebackers back off the ball. So if you block at the point of contact and you get a little hole, obviously the next guy that's going to hit the running back is going to be from the linebacking position. And if he's not on a blitz, it's going to be 5 yards past the line of scrimmage.
2nd and 10. Ted White. 6'4", 245 pounds, guns it downfield, picked off. Orlando Steinauer, who's made a career of interceptions against Montreal. His 10th career pick of an Alouette quarterback. And for the Argos, it couldn't have come at a better time. Field back on the Montreal bench, conferring with Ted White after that interception by Orlando Steinauer.
Well, here's Michael Shea, and they're going to run a little bit of a blitz here now. Watch it, they block it inside. Now freeze it up there. Look at the throwing lane. He's got the throwing lane, but look who's over here. That's the free safety. That's Orlando Steinauer. Now run the play. He is just reading this ball. As soon as it is thrown, it's overthrown. He gets an easy interception. As you say, the 10th career interception against this Montreal team.
First down Argos in the flat. Arlen Bruce gets outside and up close to the 40, a first down. Orlando Steinauer awarded with a watch from his head coach at the end of the year for being the best prepared Argonaut, along with Mike O'Shea. Usually that award is automatically given to a quarterback because they spend the most time.
But they are quarterbacks. They are the quarterbacks of the defense. Michael Shea will make the calls for the defensive line and linebackers, and Steinauer's in charge of the secondary.
Arlen Bruce, 9 catches on the day. Allen Pumps pulls it down and gets short yardage up to the 43. Tito Simpson involved in the tackle of Doug Berry, trying to bring White up to speed in a hurry.
Well, short yardage picked up by Damon Allen, but I like the fact that he pump fakes, gets away from the pressure. Rob Brown doesn't force the situation. He picks up 2 yards, but 2 yards is better than taking a sack.
You saw R.J. Soward limp off earlier for Toronto. Michael Palmer is in as Dave Stalin amps up the crowd. 2nd and long. Flag down as Robert Brown was tripped up. Avery at the 45 stopped short of the first down. And it looks like the Alouettes will decline the penalty.
Well, I think Jude St. John.
Toronto 66. Penalties decline.
Jude St. John just grabbed the ankle of Rob Brown, preventing him from taking a shot at his quarterback. Sometimes this is a good penalty. Protect your quarterback at all costs. He's just going to work here. He gets beat right off the gun, and he grabs the leg, a little bit of the jersey, pulls him down. Good job of throwing the flag and protecting the quarterback. Yeah, it costs you. You got to bring in the punt team, but your quarterback didn't take a shot.
Under 2 minutes remaining, third quarter. Prefontaine back in. Has not shown the form of last week, but has outkicked his counterpart, Mariscal so far. Landry, his best return. Late flag down as Landry gets near the 40-yard line, and we've got a scrap on the far side of the field as Armando Curry was tied up with Burlington native Michael Palmer. And that drew a flag as well, so Dave Ewell with at least 2 infractions to sort out.
One of the first times we've seen Prefontaine not get that kick to the sideline. That's a dangerous kick when you got a guy like Landry who's got more field to utilize now. But we talked about it, you said it earlier in the broadcast, Chris. He is the #1 punter in the CFL, but they also have the #1 cover team.
And the best return of the game for Landry, wiped out by these penalties.
Holding. Montreal. Illegal block. Montreal. The illegal block is declined. The holding is accepted.
So we don't know who the guilty party was, but both calls against the Alouettes, and that backs them up at the 15-yard line. And although Anthony Calvillo was at the Montreal bench, it would appear this is Ted White's game to win for the Alouettes.
Well, you know, the veteran that Calvillo is, he's going to try and impart some of his wisdom from playing in this football game on to Ted White.
Here comes the blitz from Bonner, and the pass behind the intended receiver, Dave Stala.
Now, here's where experience becomes a factor. He's trying to hit a hitch pattern. They love to run this with Calvillo. Bring the receiver inside, get some blocking, hopefully can break it for a lot of yards. Sets back, he throws it, he throws to the outside. Stala's coming to the inside, the ball is going to the outside. Just a little bit of miscommunication, not working together.
Here's my thought. The Alouettes, or the Argos, haven't shown that they can stop the run yet. And yet the Alouettes started in the air and will get a completion to Thyron Anderson up near the 30-yard line, a big first down.
Well, obviously that thought would have stored that thought for later in the football game.
Well,
you're right. No, I'm
you're
just
not going to run on second down, but
I agree with you. And I tell you what, we've seen Jonas Lewis get success running the football, but obviously they still have a lot of confidence in Ted White's ability to throw that football, and he does a nice job of getting it out to Thyron Anderson, who has been pretty quiet since the first quarter of this football game.
Just trying to show the influence you've had on me. Every week you talk about the running game. I was finally buying in, and now they will give it to Lapointe, and he has a short gain that will likely force another passing situation for Montreal.
Well, it allows Ted White to use play action to freeze the linebackers. Montreal loves to run the deep routes behind the linebackers. You can't get behind the linebackers unless you run the football. You have to fool them to get them to take a step toward the line of scrimmage.
Second and 7 in the dying seconds of this third quarter. And this nearly picked. Oh, Jordan Younger was all over that one as he stepped alongside Thyron Anderson.
Well, it's a good thing that Thyron Anderson is such a big body, because it forced Jordan Younger to go all the way around him to try and come up with that football, and he had to actually lean in to grab it. Had it been a shorter receiver, he may have been able to come over the top and grab that football, but nonetheless, great coverage by Jordan Younger. And what I like about the kid, he never gets excited. After he makes a good play, he's not one of these guys, rah-rah, pumps his fist, just does his job and goes back to the huddle.
Mariscal, pressure on, they got it! They blocked the punt, and it'll be down to the 20. I believe it was Michael Fletcher putting the heat on the import kicker. Steinauer and Fletcher with the heat on, and a huge turnover. Clemens talked about special teams. They got 7 on the kickoff return, and now a huge punt block. Either Orlando Steinauer or Mike
both
Fletcher.
of them mistakes here. First off, here he's going to block him. He just gives him a shove. Also, watch this. You got to keep him to the outside, not let him inside. 2 mistakes by the upbacks. Jonas Lewis poor push. Eric Lapointe, you got to keep him to the outside. Both of them get their hands in there. Big play.
At the 20, they swing it out to Bruce, and he gets by the first man and has a first down inside the 10. Richard Carey couldn't come up with Arlen Bruce.
And I got to tell you right now, you know on the Montreal bench. There's a little bit of the self-doubt creeping into that bench on that sideline as Toronto's making big plays in the second half. And the offense is giving the ball to Arlen Bruce and letting him do his thing.
Only 16 catches during the regular season. He's had 10 on the night. First and goal. Pressure. Allen throws it away. Incomplete. Robert Baker down inside the 5, suggesting he was tackled.
Robert Baker just got tangled up with the free safety. Baron Miles, as we take a look at the three-quarter stats, obviously turnover is a big factor. But the fact of the matter is, right now, look at the time of possession, 27 minutes. Advantage Montreal, but it tells you sometimes stats don't tell the whole story.
R.J. Soward back in, second and goal. Deafening at the big O. 5 receivers right side. Allen rolling there. And Avery, no good. And he would have been well short with Carey in tow.
Well, Damon Allen has got to get rid of this football early. He has got John Avery open right off the bat. As soon as he takes the ball, John Avery runs to the flat. Give him the football. He waits too long and forces this football late where the defenders can get up there. Albeit John Avery does not come up with that catch, but if he gives him the ball earlier, he has much more football field to play with, possibly cut back into the end zone.
So Prefontaine checks in to attempt a 16-yarder. Kevin Ivan the holder. And Prefontaine puts it through. Remember, Paul McCallum missed a short one. Prefontaine makes good, and it's 12-10 Argonauts. Reminder, you can log on in the second half and cast your vote for the Warrior of the game. Plenty of candidates, the 41-year-old grandfather, or maybe Arlen Bruce, who has 10 catches on the night. Ben Cahoon, always a warrior in that Alouette offensive scheme, 7 catches. And plenty of guys on the defensive side of the ball in this one. Ted White going deep, but overthrowing Cahoon by 10 yards or so.
Ted White stepping up in that pocket, showing the strength of his arm as he overthrows Ben Cahoon by about 5 yards. And again, Chris, you mentioned it. Jonas Lewis wants the football. You're going against the team, a defense that gives up the most yardage against the run. Don't forget your run game, especially this game is not out of reach. It's only 12-10 for Toronto.
And you saw that graphic, the Argos like a week ago enjoying a field position advantage in this game. White going back up top for Thyron Anderson, and great coverage again. And there's Mr. Younger, and you've said it a few times, and he keeps making you look good with that great coverage.
Well, he has really come to play today, going against a tall, lanky receiver in Thyron Anderson, who tries to go up and use his height advantage over Jordan Younger, who's only 5'10", a 6-inch advantage. When they leap up, it becomes even more. But good coverage right in the hip pocket, not allowing Anderson to come up with that catch down the sideline.
Well, let's see what kind of pressure they put on Mariscal this time. Blocked well, but Mariscal rattled. Short kick. Livingston fields it, and he's running backwards. Way back. But maybe he can turn the corner. Across the 50 and going a long way. And finally, last man got him, and a flag at the end of the play. Well, Livingston, I'm sure, had some with.
He went from being almost a goat,
yes,
to a bit of a hero as he turns that corner. They might have got a little fortunate, though, Chris, as I thought I saw a couple of clips as he tried to round the corner and take it back around the right side.
Major foul, unnecessary roughness, Montreal number 40. After the play, first down.
Long snapper Jason Congdon called. You know, he lost 20 and then got 26 back. It was a net of 6 yards on the return, but it was interesting.
Well, he gets to the outside, uses blazing speed to get down that sideline, and again, Montreal getting called for a penalty. Jason Congdon with the rough play, attack on an additional 15 yards.
Didn't get the rough play there, but we have seen Mike Clements in many animated discussions with Livingston, but the Argos are set up, and Allen's going deep, looking into the end zone. Incomplete. Kelly Malvo with a good hand battle with R.J. Soward.
Well, Kelly Malvo does an excellent job of staying with R.J. Soward all the way down the football field. It's maximum protection, keep the backs in. He's going for the corner of the end zone. Now he's going up to play the football, does just enough to disrupt the timing of the play, not allowing Soward to come up with the catch in the back of the end zone.
And Soward got up, started to trot off, did that Tennessee bird walk a bit, and then put a knee down, and he's cramping again. And will have to be helped off.
I think you have to realize when you're playing indoors, you got 50,000 plus in here, it's warmer. As a result, you got to make sure you're always hydrated with water.
You know, here's a first-round NFL draft choice. When he arrived in camp, he was, as the Argos say, in NFL shape. He had to lose 20 pounds during the year. It took him about a half season to get into CFL shape, where there's a lot more running done by the receivers. I think there's a little frustration about.
And you can't alternate. In the NFL, you can wave, put your hand up, and they got another substitution. Bigger rosters, more time between plays.
2nd and 10. Pressure. Allen steps up. Unloads. Robert Baker. Great move. Baker's got a first down inside the 10.
Well, Robert Baker just became the playmaker. Nice job of catching the football. A little desperation throw by Damon Allen. He could have ran with the football. He decided to just drop it off to number 88, who's just doing a crossing route right across the middle. That puts the bind on 44, Kevin Johnson, because he sees Damon Allen. He's got to respect the quarterback. He dumps it off. Baker, nice couple nifty moves. Big first down inside the 10 of the Alouettes.
3.5 minutes into the fourth quarter. First and goal. Allen into the end zone for Arlen Bruce. Touchdown!
Arlen Bruce adjusted to this football. The rookie, Carey, just got taught a lesson. You must keep the defender away from the football. Do not let him push you away. And he moved toward the football and put himself in a great position to come up with that catch at the end of the end zone.
Scored the only offensive touchdown for Toronto last week. He had a kickoff return touchdown earlier, now in the end zone again. And Chris, injuries are playing a role because Carey was in for the injured Reggie Durden, and Arlen Bruce made them pay. First game as an Argo against Montreal. And the Alouettes have not been ready for Arlen Bruce today. 5 catches short of a playoff record. Mookie Mitchell had 16 catches in a 98 playoff game against Montreal. So it's a 9-point lead. As for Landry, down at the 35-yard line as the congratulations are being exchanged at the Argo bench.
Well, Arlen Bruce, as we're going to take a look at it, Kerry Samuel trying to put pressure on Damon Allen. But watch the end of it. Now freeze it right there, guys. Look at this. He's watching the receiver. Arlen Bruce has got a couple steps separation. As a result, Carey cannot keep Arlen Bruce from cutting back into the middle of the football field. The separation allowed him to come inside and make that catch.
The Argos did not score a point in the fourth quarter against Montreal in 3 regular season games. They have 10 in the opening 4 minutes of this fourth quarter. Short gain as the Argos savor the moment, and this crowd has been silenced.
Well, that's how you take the crowd of the game, by putting points on the board, especially in a close contest. Ted White doing what he can to try and move the Alouette offense.
Jermaine Copeland's catch was for 6 yards. Eric Lapointe 2nd and 4. And he will be close to the first down but it looks like he's going to be, well, the spot. Not a good one, and he'll be a yard short.
He's going to be a little under a yard short, and you can bet all the money you got in the bank. I know you got a lot. They're going to gamble on this third down.
Not a gambler, and I think my bank account's very overrated at this point. Here we go. 3rd and a yard, and White. Well, when you're 245 pounds, that's not a bad number to call.
That's like giving the offensive guard the football and just tell him to run and have some fun. He just tucks it up behind the right side, picks up the first down, gets a fresh set of downs. Scott Flory, Fritz, and Chu doing the job. Dave Stalick comes in at the tight end.
Well, this has been just a series of momentum boosters for Toronto in the second half. The England sack on Calvillo, then the block punt. White's got to play from a disadvantage, and Cahoon punished an incompletion. Oh, he caught it. How about that? Boy, he was double teamed, and Ben Cahoon just stuck with it.
No, he just has a great pair of hands, great concentration. Nothing seems to phase him, even though he knows he's going to have contact. Just sits down there, goes high over the right shoulder to corral that football, gets hit, but still hangs on.
8th catch, he's over 100 yards, and on 2nd and 2, the Alouettes will push the pile, and it should be close to the first down. We'll bring you up to date on what's transpired so far in 51 minutes plus of football in a 10-point fourth quarter has bolted the Argos into the lead.
Well, obviously Jonas Lewis on that completion of the huge drive by the Alouettes, directed by Anthony Cavill with a 3-yard touchdown rush. You know, they had to play early, but Toronto with the lead at halftime, and then they come out, as you say, in the second half, and they've made a number of big plays. Cavill, the block punt, the interception by Steinhauer, now the touchdown to Arlen Bruce. They're making the plays right now, and they're forcing Montreal to grind it out to get anything.
And they put this man on the sidelines, the All-Canadian from a year ago, the outstanding player 2003 and a finalist again this year, but he's now a spectator. And the irony, after 2 years when the Argos had quarterbacks knocked out of the Eastern Final. 3rd down, and some motion on the line of scrimmage early. And Dave Ewell spots the ball back, and now they're going to confer. Was somebody drawn?
Well, that's exactly what
the
they're talking
Argos offside.
It's exactly what they got to figure out, whether the offensive line moved or the defensive line jump.
Out of over 51,000, very quiet right now.
And this is a, you know, with 3rd down and short coming up, it's a huge call if it goes against Montreal. They've decided to put the flags back in their pocket.
Apparently they didn't whistle play in. Now we're ready to go. And White again, following Brian Chu and right guard Scott Flory, a couple of All-Canadians. So a fresh set of downs for the Alouettes. Don Matthews is down 2 scores. Under 8 minutes to go. Plenty of time, but
plenty of time,
precarious position to be in.
But I think you got to start pulling Ted White and not let him sit in the pocket. He's a big guy. He's 6'4".
Earlier today, Paul McCallum missing the short field goal in overtime, and then Duncan O'Mahony for the last second to tie, and then that winner. Ted White in trouble, and down he goes. Eric England's got another, but there is a marker down.
Well, they might call a face mask. You can see that Ted White shaking his head in agreement with what he thinks will be the call. But Ted White, again, he cannot sit. This is a big guy. He should be rolling
Major
out.
Foul, face mask, Toronto 95.
Well, Eric Higgin's going to get the face mask call, and that's going to give a fresh set of downs and additional yardage to the Alouette offense. Right at the bottom of your screen, going to run a little twist to the inside. Breaks to Scott Flory's block and gets the hand on the helmet, tears it off, and that's an easy call for the official.
He had a good piece of the grill. There was no question about that. There was a phantom face mask call in last week's Eastern Semi, but that one will not be contested. And now White drops the ball. Gets it away, and the point is drilled as it gave Mike Fletcher time to step up. And now we're seeing some nerves, perhaps, from the backup quarterback.
Well, I think the time he's feeling the clock tick in the back of his head. He's initially going to go over in a quick hitch. He's telegraphed this all the way. Now, as he picks the ball up, very fortunate, but he still decides to try and throw the ball. Now, he takes a shot, but so does the intended receiver, Eric Lapointe, as England and Brown meet at number 7.
Result, a loss of 5 back at the 42, 2nd and 15. White pumps, wants to go deep, looking downfield, incomplete. Byron Anderson, the intended target. Chuck Winters in support of Jordan Younger in coverage.
One of the things that's happened here is we talked about match coverage where you put an extra defender to the receiver side. So if you have 3 receivers, they're going to put 4 defenders there. That allows you to have a good support system down deep on the ball. And that's exactly what happened. Chuck Winters comes over there and helps out Jordan Younger on the play. They're playing smart football defensively, the Argonauts are.
Matt Kellett, his longest this year, 39, attempting a 50-yarder unless Don Matthews has something up his sleeve. Cahoon spots it. Kellett kicks it, and it will miss. And Livingston will come out. Looking for a seam, very deliberate. And rather casual. But it's still a 9-point lead as Kellett comes up empty. We have seen this a few times this year. Mike Clements with words for Bashar Livingston after the decision to bring it out. They were willing to give up the single point. My question, Chris, as Mike O'Shea gets into it too, shouldn't he have had those instructions before he went out?
Well, you definitely would have thought that somebody on the special teams on the punt return and missed field goal return team would have told him to give up the point.
And David Allen just bailed him out with a big completion to Robert Baker and a first down near the 20.
We haven't talked much about Damon Allen, but he really has done a nice job of throwing that football and spreading it around to his receivers. And now we see another Alouette down, grabbing
Gary Samuel, we're told.
The right knee.
I've never seen this many Alouettes down in a game as he gets tied up with Kevin Johnson.
Yeah, I think you're exactly correct, Chris. Kevin Johnson's going to come from the backside, and he just kind of leg whips Terry Samuel across the right knee as he goes by him. And remember earlier, we didn't talk about him much, but the guy they've really missed this year, Mark Megna, who is probably one of their more dominant defensive linemen.
Great pursuit defensive end. Ed Fillion yesterday telling me he's like the herd dog, and Samuel has been one of many who have tried to replace Megna, but now he's down. They've lost Reggie Durden. Anthony Calvillo is the headline story. Tim Strickland on the bench, and we're going to join Brenda Irving.
Well, Chris, as you guys know, the Owls bench is kind of like Fort Knox when it comes to getting injury updates. Coach Don Matthews has given his staff and his players strict instructions not to speak with the media during games. What I can tell you, Tim Strickland taken off his helmet, suspected knee injury. Reggie Durden on the bench with what looks to be a deep thigh bruise, but I don't know if either of you guys can read lips, but you use your help down here.
Well, we just know that we haven't seen Durden for almost a half now. And it is becoming, there's Kwame Cavill, another, and that was a huge early loss for the offense. Not as big as Cavill.
Well, no, because you can replace the receiver. They still had three 1,000-yard receivers in the lineup. And of course, we talked about Sylvain Girard, who might have had 1,000. So they got guys, quality backups that can come up and do the job, but you can't lose your leader.
Here's Allen in the flat, another Arlen Bruce catch, and brought down by Malvo, 12th catch of the game, so he's on record pace. Most catches by a receiver in one game this season in the Canadian Football League, and now 4 shy of the playoff record.
But again, just getting enough time. When we talked about the offensive line of the Argonauts, they're going to have to step up. They're going to have to buy the extra time for Damon Allen to complete the throws, and they have done that. Bruce has been the recipient of 12 receptions, 104 yards and a touchdown, but Damon Allen has had the time to find the receivers downfield.
A tight end in the game for the Argos on 2nd and 8. Allen up the middle, lunging for the 30. Ball came loose. Looks like he'll be close, but maybe a yard short. And you would not expect Michael Clements to be in a gambling mood.
With 4:24 left and ticking, obviously the biggest thing you want to do is you want to punt the ball. You got the league's best punter. You've done a great job so far on the cover teams. So if you're short, depending on the mark, if it's less than a yard, then the question comes in, do you want to go for it and eat up some more time on the clock? That's the dilemma.
You know, the yards have been hard to come by, but you got to hand it to the 41-year-old 3-time Grey Cup winner. Once again, he's managing the football game.
You know what? He does all the little things right, and that's what you want. 41 years old, he's the fountain of youth. He just keeps on ticking, and he's done what we thought he had to do, and that is run with the football.
And he's a warrior, limping off.
36-2.
4.5 minutes left. Argos will be counting on good punt coverage here, and another lead-footed kick from Prefontaine.
Timeout, Montreal.
One can only imagine that the Alouettes did not have the right complement on the field as they spend their timeout. That could be very useful with a 9-point deficit in the late stages of this game.
Well, it's definitely something you're going to find out. You're going to test the mettle of the Argonauts. We talked about the Argonauts Gillette game notes. It's in the cards with 6 to 7 yards. That obviously referring to first down yardage. Look at the average, 6.2 yards. It's exactly what they had to do. Play some rock and roll on Cavill. Well, I'll tell you what, did that come true? They put him out of the game in the third quarter.
Prefontaine gets it away. Another kick away from Landry, and it will go out near midfield.
Closed captioning is brought to you by
10, 9, 8, 7, 6.
The new Pontiac G6, launching this fall.
Evan Solomon will make the case for Alexander Graham Bell, the greatest Canadian. It's Monday at 8 o'clock on CBC Television, and you can vote for any of the top 10 nominees at cbc.ca/greatest. Short punt by Prefontaine. They mark it out at the 51. Just 30 yards that time for Prefontaine. And a pass picked off. An interception by Jordan Younger. He's had quite a day. And Ted White's second interception in relief of Anthony Calvillo is another nail in the coffin.
You hit it on the head. The biggest thing right now is he has the right receiver picked out. He just overthrows the intended receiver. Doesn't have any touch on the football, and as a result, another interception, this time by, as you say, Jordan Younger, who's played one whale of a game on the outside, doing a great job of covering Thyron Anderson for most of the afternoon. This time he just sits back there, reads the coverage, reads the receiver's routes, and jumps in front. Doesn't have to make much of a move on that overthrown football.
Alouettes had the fewest giveaways in the league this year. That's the 4th turnover of the night. John Avery. Short gain, a couple.
That's John Avery's second carry of the afternoon. I can't believe I'm even saying that. I was a little surprised. Hey, they're winning, so God, you know what? That's the way it works. But I would have utilized, or thought they would have utilized John Avery, maybe in screens, maybe fly him out to the sidelines, give him quick hitch passes. We know what he can do in the open field. Instead, the man that they've gone to in that capacity has been Arlen Bruce.
John Avery in his career, 2.9-yard average against Montreal, even in his brilliant 2002 season, ineffective against the Alouettes. He gets the ball here and maybe gets 2 or 3 as the Argos content to run the clock. The 3-minute warning given to the benches with an upset in the making in Montreal. Those Thundersticks starting to be discarded by the faithful here at Olympic Stadium. 2:44 to play. The Argos by 9 as they try to avenge 2 straight Eastern final losses to the Alouettes, a team that did not lose to an Eastern opponent all year. Argos working the clock. Prefontaine again will make sure Landry can't get his hands on it. As we update the Alouette Gillette game notes.
Well, we're talking about field of force. Now is the 4 horsemen with 1,000-yard receiving seasons. Obviously, Cahoon 103 yards, Copeland 84, but Kwame Cavill had to leave the game early with a suspected concussion. Iced the Argos. They felt they could intimidate him, confuse him, and execute their game plan. No sacks, and only 1 interception by Kelly Melville.
And now Ted White has 2:21 and a 9-point deficit to overcome to get the Alouettes to their 4th Grey Cup in 5 years. First down in the air, and it's caught. Copeland up at the 38-yard line has 14.
Well, I think you're in a scenario right now where you need guys like Jermaine Copeland to go into the huddle and remind Ted White that he can catch this football, that he can be a factor right now. You go to your go-to guys in clutch situations, that would be Copeland and Cahoon.
Without a huddle, White flushed. And it's up for grabs, picked up! Look out! Antonius Bonner! Oh, what a play by Ben Cahoon. That had touchdown written all over it. But it is another turnover, number 5 for the Argos black and blue defense.
Well, it's a scenario we saw earlier when Ted White fumbled the snap and still persisted in trying to throw the football to a spot. This time he's just going to sit back. He actually fumbles the football again and then knows he's going to be dragged down. Instead of taking the sack and taking another down, he tries to force the situation. He throws it right at number 10, Antonius Bonner. Comes up with an interception, and with 1:58 left in the football game, that man just cannot believe what has transpired. I guarantee you, Chris, he's going to check his locker room and see if there's a Ottawa Renegade playbook somewhere in there, because they have had the rash of injuries that the Ottawa Renegades have suffered all year long.
Twin tights for the Argos. John Avery kicks it outside. This could be the finishing touches. Avery! Touchdown! And Don Matthews knows the inevitable now. His team not going back.
Well, 2 things happened. When Anthony Cavill went out of this football game, the Argonaut defense could not relax because Ted White was in this football game. They did not relax. They came after him. They forced turnovers. That's huge. John Avery didn't get to touch the football much this afternoon. Used primarily as a blocking back. But when he got his 3rd carry of the afternoon, he made him pay.
Extra point added as the Argos celebrate. Pinball Clemens trying to stop the celebration for another minute 49. That's how far away they are from a trip to the nation's capital next week.
Well, a little tight end blocking. You see Jonathan Langdon, 72, coming around the left side. John Avery busts it to the outside and takes it all the way for a touchdown. Michael Botterill with the tackle, but not until he's in the end zone.
Argos had 3 takeaways in their win over Hamilton last week, 5 today. They have 10 points off turnovers. They got the special teams touchdown from Arlen Bruce, and that's why the fans in blue and white are celebrating. And many of the Alouette fans are headed home. Swift kick by Prefontaine, picked up by Anwar Stewart, upended immediately. Well, the last time the Argos were victorious in an Eastern final was with Don Matthews at the helm and Doug Flutie throwing the football. And look who's taking it to the house. Mike Clements in a win over the Alouettes. And now as a head coach, for the first time, he's apparently on his way to the Grey Cup.
Well, I love the line that Damon Allen said. He said, you know what, if nobody thought they could beat Montreal this year, they'd be undefeated.
Ted White going for a bundle, and Orlando Steinauer, no, it's caught! Steinauer playing center field, and Gerard took it away from him. And
what a catch! What a catch, Chris, by Sylvain Gerard. No quit in number 3. Double coverage. They've got him box slow. They got him covered up top, and he just wants the ball more. Great grab by Sylvain Gerard to hang on to that football down to the 7-yard line.
58 yards for Gerard, who was second in average yards per catch this year to only Jason Tucker. First and goal at the 7, a pump, end zone Anderson, and a flag as Anderson felt the tug. And a penalty called on the play. It will be Younger, Jordan Younger. And we should point out 2 scores and 2 two-point converts tie this game.
Toronto 32.
Yeah, it's going to be Chuck Winters with the call. Jordan Younger's done an excellent job of covering Anderson all afternoon. This time 32 gets the duty, and Anderson beats him to the back of the end zone, and he has no other alternative but to tug on the jersey, not allowing him to come up with that catch.
First down at the 1 with 2 running backs. The point stopped, and then lunching touchdown. And the Argos arguing that he was in the grasp, but we do have a penalty on the play.
Well, it was thrown on the line of scrimmage, and it's probably going to go against the Argonauts. Usually it means they've encroached on that 1 yard. That seems to be the signal from Luke Fritz, the right tackle.
Offside, Toronto 95. Penalties decline. Touchdown.
So hold on. There's 6. 10 points. The margin that Montreal faces. Now they will try to execute the 2-point convert and get within another touchdown and another 2 points. So the ball on the far hash mark at the 5. White scrambling, open man, and he's got it. Dave Stalla. Well, we're in for an interesting final 78 seconds as the Argos celebration premature.
You can never relax in this great game up here in Canada. Ted White sits back there. We've seen him make some poor decisions. This time he doesn't force the football, backs up, rolls to left. Now he could have ran with the football. It was wide open. But he found Dave Stalla wide open in the end zone for the 2-point convert.
Point, who was an Argo for one frustrating season, traded with Orlando Steinauer to the Argos for Michael O'Shea. And then carried the ball just 11 times that year. Left and became a free agent back home in Montreal. We take another look. Argos thought he put a knee down, but the replay indicates, well, he's down before the lunge. And the Alouettes do get the benefit of the call.
Well, they get the benefit of the call and the fact that they thought they had him stopped right here. They're for sure thought the whistle was going to be blown, but watch the knee. Watch, here it goes. Now the knee is down and he hasn't crossed. So as you say, Chris, very fortunate for that touchdown.
Now the short kick up for grabs. Ivory's got it, fields it cleanly. Argos have the football, and remember, the Alouettes do not have a timeout. They mysteriously used it with 4.5 minutes to go.
Toronto cannot play conservative right now. Run the football, use the clock. The whole thing about it, this is why you have a veteran quarterback like Damon Allen. He's been around the league. He knows how to use the clock. Once it's whistled in, take the 20 seconds, hand the football off. He may just go down on a knee and eliminate the potential of a turnover. That looks like what he's going to do.
First down, Avery. And Avery battles his way to midfield, so he gets 4 to 5 hard-earned yards. One more first down, and the Argos can book the trip.
And the reason I thought that Damon Allen might take the football and run around killing the clock is the one knock on John Avery is he has a case of fumbleitis. He's led the Argos with 5 fumbles, and that's not to say he hasn't had a good game blocking today. He's only carried the ball a few times, scored late in this quarter. But sometimes it's better just to hang on to the football yourself.
2nd and 5, Avery! And he will be stopped short at the Montreal 51. 48 seconds on the clock, and it will start to roll again when Dave Ewell whistles play in. And Avery, who suffered a pulled groin late in the year, sat out the final game against Montreal and took away his chance of a 1,000-yard season, is limping off. So there'll be some casualties on this side too. And we are unsure of the status of Casey's printers next week. Don Matthews lined up all 12 on the line of scrimmage earlier this year for a block.
That's exactly it. I was just going to say, do you play the block, or do you try to get a good return by preventing the cover team from getting downfield and allowing Ezra Landry perhaps to break one this afternoon? Obviously, he hasn't had many opportunities, as Noel Prefontaine has done a masterful job of kicking the ball out of bounds.
Argos took all that time off the clock, called the timeout with 1 second on the time clock.
Timer, please reset the clock to 29 seconds. 29 seconds.
29 seconds remaining. A team that has been built to beat Don Matthews' Montreal Alouettes, and they are just under a half minute away from doing so. Bruce, a playoff record today, and that Argo defense has done it again, but one play by Gerard, leaving this one still in doubt. And whoa, penalty down. Did the Argos draw them offside? If so, this is over. Landry on the return, and he's out at the 30-yard line. And what's the call? If it's against Montreal, the first down for the Argonauts will clinch the game.
I think it is definitely against the Alouettes. The interior of that line was drawn off. They jumped the gun, and if it is, and it is, that'll give them an automatic first down, the Argonauts, because you only need 2 to pick up the first.
Offside. Montreal 94. First down.
Well, it's over now.
That's Rob Brown in the middle of your screen. Jumps the gun, and wouldn't have mattered what Ezra Landry had done on the return as we take a look at Don Matthews, and this is probably symbolic as he takes the headset off and walks back to the bench.
It's about us all. Hey, it's about us all. It's about us all. They talked all that crap, but you know, you have to play the game, and we played the game.
But that's what we call a wrap.
It's over with.
A wrap.
Hey, what's the rap mean? Gone. What's the rap mean?
It's
gone.
over.
Hey,
Grey Cup.
Now a jubilant Argos sidelines. And if you're wondering how the two teams matched up this year, East and West, there were the scores. Big win for BC in week 11, but On Thanksgiving Monday, it was the Argos with a brilliant defensive effort and riding the toe of Prefontaine. Toronto, BC, 20 seconds away from being official, and even putting a knee down puts Damon Allen on the limp. I mean, you can't say enough about him, and would the game have been different if he had finished?
Well, you know it might have been different. I mean, obviously that's what they're all going to talk about. It's the fact that when you lose Anthony Cavill, who is up for the most outstanding player, who is the leader of the Alouette team, things would have definitely been, I can promise you, there wouldn't have been 3 interceptions. He probably would not have made the decisions that Ted White did. But how about giving credit to Damon Allen? Took those shots from Ed Fillion, stayed in the football game, ran with the football. You see there, Coach Pinball getting the dump. The Gatorade, it's good thing they didn't drop the bucket on him because he would have been right underneath it.
Michael Clements is going to the Grey Cup for the first time as a head coach. And the Alouettes' reign as East Division champions is over. The Toronto Argonauts with a 26-18 victory as we head to the sidelines and join Brenda Irving.
Well, Chris, Arland Bruce knows that it takes big plays to win the big games, and you had 2 of the biggest tonight.
Coach said, you know, big-time players make big-time plays in the games, and, you know, all week we'll just, you know, get the ball to the playmakers, and that's what they did. That's what we did. Defense did their thing. We came out with victory. We're going to the Grey Cup.
You know, a lot of people thought that this team was the underdog here tonight, but all week this team has been so confident. What made the team so sure it was going to win this game?
We just stuck together all week. You know, you could just feel the environment. It's a family. The Argonauts are a family for real, and that's why we came out victorious today.
Congratulations, and have fun in Ottawa.
That's right. Thank you.
Well, here in Montreal, it's the Toronto Argonauts 26, the Montreal Alouettes 18.